Hey everyone! Ready to dive deep into the world of Despicable Me 4? Released on July 3, 2024. This film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. On a blazing summer day, July 3, 2024, cinema screens around the world burst into infectious laughter, mischief, and unfiltered joy as Despicable Me 4 made its grand entrance. It wasn't just another sequel. It was a full-throttle return to the absurd charm that has defined the Despicable Me franchise for over a decade. GIU was back, the minions were louder than ever, and for the first time, the world met someone even more unpredictable than GIU himself, his own son. Audiences poured into theaters, drawn by the magnetic promise of chaos, heart, and that unshakable sense that no matter how strange life gets, family is always the weirdest and most wonderful adventure of all. What made this film extraordinary wasn't just its stunning animation or the riotous humor delivered with pinpoint precision. It was the way it peeled back the layers of its beloved anti-hero and introduced new stakes, fresh faces, and a villain whose theatricality matched only his menace. While the previous installments danced with redemption and goofy villainy, this chapter charged headfirst into the complexities of reinvention. GIU isn't just trying to save the world. He's trying to protect his family from a past that refuses to stay buried. And the result? A story that swings from absurd comedy to tender emotion without ever losing its momentum. When Maxime Lamal, a long-forgotten rival from GIU's school days, slithers back into the picture, things take a sharp turn. With a bio-enhanced body, a vendetta forged in bitterness, and a flair for the melodramatic, Maxime is unlike any villain GIU has faced before. His return triggers a seismic shift in GIU's world, sending him, Lucy, the girls, and the ever-loyal minions into hiding under a new identity. What unfolds in the sleepy suburbs of a fake new life is anything but peaceful. Minions struggle with jobs, the girls wrestle with blending in, and GIU? GIU must balance the explosive antics of a baby with the looming danger of a nemesis who knows him far too well. The comedic timing is razor-sharp, thanks to the pitch-perfect voice work of Steve Carell, who delivers GIU's exasperation with a mix of seasoned sarcasm and genuine warmth. Kristen Wiig's Lucy once again proves she's more than just the quirky wife. She's the heart that keeps this dysfunctional unit grounded. And Will Ferrell's Maxim is a scene stealer, oozing villainous charisma in every frame, his outrageous accent and insectile powers making him both ridiculous and genuinely threatening. But it's Joey King's Poppy Prescott, the teenage neighbor with a villain obsession, who unexpectedly injects the narrative with a fresh kind of chaos. Her dynamic with the undercover GIU ignites some of the film's funniest and most revealing moments. Visually, the film is an explosion of light, texture, and invention. The animators stretch their craft to new dimensions, especially in sequences involving the newly transformed Mega Minions. These superpowered variations of the beloved yellow henchman wreak havoc in the most hilarious ways imaginable, yet also serve as a metaphor for the unpredictable outcomes of messing with nature and identity. Each action set piece dazzles, from high-speed pursuits through cul-de-sacs to a final battle that turns a suburban block into a war zone of villainous theatrics and familial courage. But what truly makes Despicable Me 4 resonate is the emotional undercurrent running beneath all the madness. It's in the quiet, almost unnoticeable moments, GIU's protective glances, Lucy's subtle sacrifices, the girls learning to let go of fear, that the film deepens its narrative roots. It understands something many animated films forget, that even in the wackiest situations, authentic emotion has the power to anchor an entire universe. This film didn't just debut, it landed like a cultural meteor. Fans, both old and new, couldn't stop quoting lines, sharing memes, and theorizing about future spin-offs. TikTok erupted with minion dance trends. Twitter lit up with fan art and hilarious reenactments. And everywhere, people found themselves reconnecting with something they didn't even realize they missed. The balance of absurdity and warmth that Despicable Me consistently nails. In an era flooded with reboots and soulless sequels, Despicable Me 4 felt alive. It felt necessary. It proved that even in its fourth installment, the series hadn't lost its heart or its banana-scented madness. From the moment the film opens, there's a sense of familiarity that quickly gives way to something new. The Universal logo fades, and the first sound we hear is a distant explosion, followed by the unmistakable gibberish of a minion mid-crisis. The scene shifts to the Antivillain League's high-tech headquarters, where a mission has gone spectacularly wrong. A team of minions, led by the ever-bold Kevin, attempts to apprehend an escaped villain, only to cause more damage than good. It's a hilarious, action-packed opener that sets the tone. Chaos is back, and the stakes are higher than ever. Cut to Jiayu, now sporting a weary but content smile, navigating life as a family man. He's still working with the AVL, but his life has settled into a routine. School drop-offs with the girls, crime fighting on the side, and late-night diaper changes thanks to the latest addition to the family. Jiayu Jr. the baby is a miniature tornado, full of spunk, laughter, and a mischievous spark that clearly runs in the family. He's not just adorable, he's chaos in a crib. Jiayu tries to juggle his responsibilities with the poise of a seasoned supervillain turned dad, but it's clear that things are starting to slip. He's tired, distracted, and oddly nostalgic. Something is stirring in the wind. That something arrives in the form of Maxim Lamal, a name from Jiayu's past that hasn't been uttered in years. Introduced through a flashback so exaggerated it feels like a Bond parody, we learn that Maxim and Jiayu were once classmates at Villainy Academy. Maxim, always flamboyant and flashy, felt overshadowed by Jiayu's quiet, brooding brilliance. Now, decades later, Maxim returns, but he's changed. Through genetic experimentation, he has fused his DNA with that of a cockroach, giving him inhuman strength, rapid healing, and a disgustingly effective escape mechanism. His partner, Valentina, a slinky, no-nonsense villain with a venomous edge, completes the threat. Together, they represent a sophisticated danger Jiayu hasn't faced in years. Maxim's return is swift and brutal. A surprise attack on an AVL safehouse sends ripples through the organization. It's a clear message. He's back, and he wants revenge. The AVL scrambles, and for the first time in a long time, Jiayu feels the weight of true fear. This isn't just about stopping a villain, it's about keeping his family alive. And so, in a move that startles even Lucy, Jiayu agrees to enter witness protection. The AVL sets them up in a quiet suburban neighborhood under new identities. Jiayu becomes Chet Cunningham, a mild-mannered plumber, while Lucy poses as a yoga instructor with questionable credentials. The girls adopt new names, and even the minions are scattered into different roles across the community, assigned cover jobs to maintain the family's illusion of normalcy. But of course, nothing stays normal when minions are involved. One gets hired as a pool cleaner and floods half the neighborhood. Another becomes a barista and starts serving espresso with dynamite foam. These misadventures offer brilliant comedic interludes while also underlining the fragility of their new life. Jiayu, meanwhile, struggles to adapt. He's never been one for subtlety, and his gruff demeanor makes fitting in a daily challenge. At the neighborhood potluck, he almost blows his cover when he aggressively critiques a casserole for being too weak to survive a proper interrogation. Into this fragile calm comes Poppy Prescott, a local teenager with a fascination for villains. She's quirky, whip-smart, and immediately suspicious of the Cunningham family. Her interest is piqued when she spots a few of the minions slipping into a garage wearing night vision goggles and banana print camouflage. Determined to prove they're hiding something, Poppy begins shadowing the family, inadvertently getting herself tangled in events far beyond her understanding. Meanwhile, Maxim and Valentina aren't idle. They've launched a global crime spree, using Maxim's enhanced powers to infiltrate secure facilities, while Valentina manipulates media narratives to pin their crimes on others. The AVL is overwhelmed, and the public starts to panic. Amid the chaos, Maxim's true motive begins to emerge. He's not just targeting Jiayu, he wants to expose the AVL, unravel the entire post-villain world order, and reignite an age where fear ruled the streets. Jiayu, though hidden, can't sit still for long. When he discovers that Maxim is planning a heist targeting a secret AVL database, he knows he has to act. But breaking cover means putting his entire family at risk. What follows is one of the film's most tension-filled sequences. GRU, Lucy, and a stealth team of minions sneak out under the cover of night. Their mission: intercept Maxim and steal the encryption key before he can access the AVL's most sensitive information. The scene is a masterclass in pacing, blending slick animation with genuine suspense. There's a narrow escape through an underground lab, a minion accidentally activating an entire hallway of security lasers, and Lucy using a yoga mat as an improvised zipline. But the mission fails, barely. Maxim escapes, grinning as he clutches the key. GRU returns home defeated, knowing that things are only going to get worse from here. Tensions rise. Lucy urges GRU to stay hidden, but he can't ignore the feeling that Maxim is leading him somewhere, taunting him. The children begin to sense that their parents are hiding something. Edith spies GRU secretly repairing an old freeze ray in the garage. Agnes, always empathetic, comforts GRU Jr., who seems to understand more than anyone gives him credit for. And Margot, ever observant, starts connecting the dots. The family is on edge, and the once cozy home begins to feel like a ticking time bomb. The tension within the family reaches a breaking point just as Maxim's plan swings into full motion. After successfully extracting the AVL's secret database, he disappears, leaving behind a string of cryptic messages, some in public broadcasts, others eerily personalized just for GRU. It's clear now that this is more than a vendetta. Maxim is orchestrating something vast, using data stolen from the AVL to target every former villain-turned-civilian who ever dared to change. He wants to make them examples, proof that redemption is weakness. His message is simple: true villains don't retire. GRU, torn between protecting his family and confronting his past, finds himself pulled deeper into conflict. His identity, long buried under layers of fatherhood and domestic life, begins to resurface. He sharpens old tools, reassembles gadgets long hidden away, and revives that signature scowl that once struck fear into the world. Lucy watches all of this with quiet concern, sensing that the man she fell in love with might be stepping too close to the edge. But she doesn't stop him, not yet. Because she knows that GRU's strength lies in knowing when to pull back and when to strike. Their children are no longer just bystanders. Margot, having pieced together the truth, confronts GRU in one of the film's most heartfelt moments. She doesn't beg him to stop, she asks him not to shut them out. Edith offers to help prepare battle supplies, turning old toys into makeshift weapons. And little Agnes, with her unwavering belief in unicorns and happy endings, simply hugs her father, whispering, "I know you'll win, because you always fight for love." It's this moment, so simple, so honest, that finally centers GRU. He's not just fighting Maxim. He's fighting to protect the life he never thought he could have. Meanwhile, Poppy's obsession with uncovering GRU's secret has landed her in real danger. Following the minions on one of their training missions, she stumbles into a hidden facility that Maxim has been using as a base of operations. There, she discovers a chilling blueprint. Maxim isn't planning to destroy the AVL. He's planning to release a chemical swarm, mutated insects under his control, that will override human emotions, turning entire populations into compliant drones. And the first test zone? GRU's own neighborhood. Poppy manages to escape, barely, and rushes to warn the family. Her arrival at the Cunningham home, muddy, breathless, terrified, signals the final shift in the story's momentum. The climax begins with a neighborhood blackout. The skies darken unnaturally, as Maxim's genetically engineered insects swarm the area, blocking signals, disabling electronics, and isolating every home. Panic ensues. But GRU is ready. In a stunning sequence that mirrors his glory days of villainy, he launches a counteroffensive with Lucy, the girls, and the mega minions by his side. Each family member has a role. Margot hacks Maxim's frequency to slow the swarm. Edith leads a squad of makeshift minion mech suits, built from salvaged lawnmowers and leaf blowers. Agnes, riding a modified unicorn scooter, delivers antidotes to infected neighbors. And GRU Jr.? He babbles gibberish from a crib that turns into a high-tech command pod. The final battle unfolds on the roof of a shopping mall where Maxim's transmitter stands like a twisted spire. Giu confronts him face to face, their silhouettes backlit by swarming clouds of chaos. Maxim taunts him, trying to coax the villain back out. But Giu, for all his growls and gadgets, doesn't bite. Instead, he fights like a father, with strategy, heart, and the weight of everything he's built. The two clash in a physical and ideological war, Maxim using brute force and insect tricks, Giu responding with creative genius and sheer will. Just when it seems Maxim has the upper hand, Poppy reappears, this time armed with a high-frequency emitter she stole earlier. Working with Margot, she redirects the insects' programming, turning them against their master. The swarm turns inward, surrounding Maxim and rendering his enhancements useless. Giu could end him right there. But instead, he offers him a chance to stop, to let go, to be more than vengeance. Maxim refuses, lunging one last time, only to be knocked out cold by Lucy with a perfectly timed yoga brick. The aftermath is quiet and golden. The neighborhood slowly returns to life. The AVL, humbled and grateful, offers Giu a full pardon and reinstatement. He declines. This time, he knows what matters most. The final scene is a mirror of the film's beginning, but this time, the chaos feels like home. The minions have returned to their mischief, the girls to their games, and Giu. Giu rocks Giu Jr. to sleep, humming a lullaby that's just slightly off-key. Lucy smiles from across the room, and the screen fades to black. The credits roll over snapshots of suburban life, minions baking disastrous cakes, Poppy training at the AVL youth program, and Agnes finally getting a real unicorn, sort of. The legacy of Despicable Me 4 isn't just in its laughs or its spectacle. It's in the truth it leaves behind. Even the greatest villains can choose to be something better. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is be a dad. From the opening moments of Despicable Me 4, it's clear that Giu is not the man he once was, and yet, somewhere beneath the wrinkle of his brow and the tired crease in his smirk, that old spark remains. The film doesn't just revisit Giu, it redistributes him, piece by piece, across roles he never thought he'd play. Father, husband, protector, leader. The once infamous supervillain now struggles not with elaborate heists, but with the chaos of parenting a baby who treats walls like jungle gyms and bottles like Molotov cocktails. But there's a deeper truth beneath the diapers and bedtime routines. Giu is at war with the idea that he may be growing soft. That peace, in its quiet repetition, might be stripping him of identity. What makes Giu so captivating isn't just the way he growls through every scene, or how his iconic nose casts shadows in moonlight. It's the tension constantly pulling at him. The pull between past and present, between instinct and intention. And Steve Carell once again balances this duality with astonishing grace. His voice crackles with warmth when he speaks to Agnes, yet sharpens like a blade when he confronts Maxim. His performance breathes life into a man walking the tightrope between who he was and who he's becoming. He's still funny, still stubborn, still wildly awkward in social settings, but now, there's gravity behind the jokes. A man who knows what he stands to lose. Lucy, played once again with bubbling energy by Kristen Wiig, continues to evolve far beyond the comedic sidekick role she once filled. She's not just a wife or mother here, she's the emotional hinge of the entire story. The moments where she watches Giu slip into old habits, where worry flickers in her eyes as he sharpens the edges of a forgotten identity, those are the moments that hit hardest. Lucy is the only one who sees the full picture. The man, the myth, and the mess, all tangled together. Her comedic timing remains impeccable, but it's her restraint that steals the spotlight this time. She doesn't confront Giu with fire. She watches. She waits. And when she strikes, it's with honesty. You don't have to be who you were to stop him, she says. You just have to be who you are. Then there's Margot, the oldest of the three girls, now a teenager with a sharper gaze and a stronger sense of purpose. Her arc is rooted in silent rebellion. She knows something's wrong before anyone says it out loud. Her questions are subtle at first, but filled with an urgency that betrays her age. What makes Margot's performance stand out isn't just her cleverness or leadership, it's her restraint. She doesn't rush to uncover the truth, she patiently tracks it, understanding that timing is power. When she finally confronts Jiayu, the confrontation is soft, but it hits like thunder. We know who you are. We're not scared of him. We're scared of losing you. And in that moment, she stops being a side character and becomes part of the emotional foundation that holds the film up. Edith, still wild-eyed and combat-booted, brings much-needed fire to the household. She's the one building traps in the garage, testing tasers on melons, and dreaming of battle glory. But behind the explosives is a girl desperate to prove she can protect her family. Her transformation isn't a loud one, it's in her decisions. When she leads the minions into battle, decked out in ridiculous mech suits and cardboard armor, she becomes a soldier in her own right. She may not have powers or super skills, but her courage fills the screen. She's what happens when chaos finds purpose. Agnes, ever the heart of the family, remains unchanged in the best way. Her innocence, her belief in magic and unicorns, becomes the soul of the movie. But this time, her sweetness isn't just comic relief, it's a shield. In the darkest moments, when Jiayu falters, it's Agnes who whispers truth in its purest form. You're brave when you try, even when you're scared. And somehow, those words echo louder than any rallying speech or last-minute save. Her connection to Jiayu Jr. is also tender and poetic, watching her cradle him, sing to him, and cheer him on as he babbles through battle plans. It paints her as the silent protector of joy in a world that so often forgets to smile. Now to Maxime Lamal, the newest, strangest threat the series has seen. Played with theatrical madness and grotesque charm by Will Ferrell, Maxim is equal parts repulsive and magnetic. His transformation into a cockroach hybrid gives the animators full creative freedom, but it's his emotional core that matters. Underneath the chitin and evil laughter is a man devoured by envy. Maxim doesn't want to rule the world. He wants to make it suffer for applauding Jiayu. His warped sense of identity is born from years in the shadow of someone he deemed unworthy. And so, he doesn't just attack Jiayu physically, he attacks his legacy. He wants to break the myth of redemption. Ferrell's voice performance leans into this manic energy, but it never loses focus. He's not playing a monster, he's playing a man who chose to become one. The way he taunts Jiayu, not with threats, but with reminders of who he used to be, those are the film's darkest moments. And yet, his downfall isn't a grand explosion or a dramatic end, it's rejection. When Jiayu chooses family over revenge, Maxim realizes he was never the hero in his own story. That silence, just before the swarm turns on him, lingers far longer than any villain monologue. Valentina, Maxim's icy accomplice, deserves more than a passing mention. Voiced with sharp precision by Sofia Vergara, she's elegance dipped in poison. Her presence amplifies Maxim's danger, but she's never just background. Her calm delivery and cold logic provide a stark contrast to his frenzy. And when she's finally confronted by Lucy, it's a battle of wit and willpower, not fists. She doesn't need to say much. Her gaze alone conveys ambition, bitterness, and quiet cruelty. And when she flees the battlefield at the end, it's not an escape, it's a promise. She'll be back. And she'll be smarter next time. Among the chaos, it's easy to forget the minions, but that would be a mistake. Their brilliance lies in how they balance slapstick with emotional resonance. Yes, they blow up a microwave trying to cook lasagna. Yes, they mistakenly arrest a statue. But they also risk their lives to protect Jiayu, to rescue the children, and to fight off genetically modified insects with only plungers and banana peels. Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, now semi-veterans of war, bring a level of loyalty that grounds the madness. They are Jiayu's army, but more than that, they are his history. They've followed him from the days of villainy to the cradle of fatherhood. And in one quiet scene, as Jiayu lays unconscious, they surround him, placing gadgets beside him like relics at a shrine. It's funny, but it's also deeply touching. Because even gibberish, when spoken with love, becomes poetry. And then, there's Poppy Prescott, the wild card. Introduced as a side character, she quickly becomes the story's secret weapon. Her obsession with villains is more than a quirky personality trait. It's her way of finding power in a world that underestimates her. She's the outsider who sees the truth, the fan who becomes the fighter. And when she finally joins the AVL as a trainee, it doesn't feel like an arc. It feels like destiny. Her energy is raw, her instincts sharp, and her courage boundless. In many ways, she's the future Jiayu never saw coming. A girl who grew up believing in legends and decided to write her own. Together, this cast of characters, old and new, forms the heart of Despicable Me 4. Their arcs don't just entertain, they elevate. Each interaction, each glance, each line spoken under pressure, builds a web of emotion that pulls the viewer in and refuses to let go. The film doesn't ask us to pick a favorite. It reminds us why we fell in love with them all in the first place. Because they're flawed. Because they're funny. Because, in the end, they remind us that no matter how chaotic life becomes, family, however unconventional, is the one thing worth fighting for. There's a certain kind of magic hidden in the frames of Despicable Me 4. Not the overt kind that turns villains into cockroaches or fires laser guns across a rooftop, but the quieter, more personal kind. The kind that rewards those who pay attention, those who remember, and those who believe that nothing in a GRU movie is ever just a coincidence. It begins in the opening shot. As GRU races through the city with his new baby strapped to his chest in a Minion-themed carrier, a familiar billboard flashes by in the background, GRU's Freeze Ray Repair, out of order since 10. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it nod to the very first film, where that signature gadget made its iconic debut. But more than a callback, it's a statement. This isn't just a new adventure, it's the evolution of an entire universe. And that evolution is everywhere. The subtle shift in GRU's lair, now half covered in crayon art, stuffed animals, and toddler-proofing gear, tells us everything we need to know about how much his world has changed. But nestled among the chaos is a single dusty photo, barely visible on a cluttered shelf. Young GRU and his mother, a rare and quiet echo of the past. It's a reminder of where it all began, of the lonely boy who once dreamed of stealing the moon, now surrounded by a family that eclipses anything he could have ever imagined. The Minions, as always, carry their own treasure trove of secrets. During a scene where they infiltrate Maxim's underground lab disguised as janitors, one of them passes a row of security monitors, and if you freeze frame just right, you'll spot a paused image of Vector, the orange tracksuit villain from the original movie, still floating in space inside his spacecraft, now home to a surprisingly well-developed cactus garden. It's a clever way of confirming that, yes, he's still out there, still drifting, still oddly committed to space farming. Even GRU Jr., barely able to walk, becomes a vessel for hidden meaning. In one of the early scenes where he waddles through the hallway wearing oversized goggles, eagle-eyed fans noticed that he steps on a toy rocket labeled PX-41. That's the same chemical compound from Despicable Me 2 that turned creatures into rage-fueled monsters. Here, it's just a toy, but it's also a sly commentary on how much power the past holds, and how easily it can fall into new, innocent hands. And that's where the movie truly shines, in how it plants clues not just for laughs or nostalgia, but to say something deeper. Take Maxim's transformation. The cockroach motif isn't just visual, it's symbolic. He survives everything, gets stepped on, crushed, thrown into fire, and keeps coming back. Just like envy. Just like bitterness. In one of his early monologues, he says, "You think you've squashed me, but I was built to crawl back." And that line, while seemingly absurd, becomes the thesis of his entire arc. He's not just fighting GRU, he's fighting the idea that GRU changed and he didn't. And then there's the AVL, the Antivillain League, which appears more bureaucratic than ever. The eagle on the front desk? It flaps its wings every time someone mentions family. It's a small gag, sure, but the AVL's increasingly ridiculous headquarters also hides something crucial. In one briefing room, behind a glass panel, is a collection of confiscated villain gadgets. Among them, El Macho's exploding shark, still twitching slightly, Balthazar Brat's mullet wig, and a tiny model of the moon with property of GRU scratched into its surface. The props don't speak, but they whisper history. They tell us this world remembers its villains. And remember Poppy? The sharp, starstruck teen who idolizes villains? Her bedroom wall is an Easter egg museum. Posters of past baddies, newspaper clippings of GRU's heists, even a replica of Vector's squid gun, painted pink and mounted like a trophy. But there's something else. A journal, briefly glimpsed when she's packing for her AVL mission, contains a sketch of GRU standing in front of a tower, labeled Future Me. It's both charming and unsettling, a child's admiration aimed squarely at a man who once terrorized the world. Yet it also subtly foreshadows her role in the story, not just as a sidekick, but as a mirror. A reflection of who GRU used to be, and what he fears becoming again. In the climactic battle on Maxim's rooftop lair, there's a moment where GRU confronts his enemy, standing framed by neon lights spelling out legacy. But the lights flicker, and for just a second, the only letters left glowing spell lie. It's a visual trick, a split-second symbolism that suggests Maxim's entire identity. The one he built on pain, revenge, and old glory was never built on truth. In contrast, GRU stands bruised and broken, but whole. Because his legacy isn't in theft or gadgets, it's in the people who chose to follow him when he had nothing to offer but love. Even the film's score hides Easter eggs for those who listen closely. Composer Hita Pereira subtly weaves motifs from previous films into the background. When Agnes speaks about unicorns, a single harp string plays the same lullaby used in the first movie when she fell asleep in GRU's arms. When the minions charge into battle, their anthem briefly incorporates a few bars of Despicable Me, the Pharrell Williams hit from 2010, now twisted into a triumphant march. It's more than music, it's memory. And then there's the ending, the quietest, most profound detail of all. After the final battle, when the dust settles and the family returns home, GRU places his baby in the crib and hums a lullaby. But it's not just any tune. It's the same melody his mother once hummed to him, heard only once before, faint and forgotten in a flashback years ago. This is the full circle. The old villain, once driven by the absence of love, now sings it into existence. Of course, for those who stay through the credits, the animators have one final gift. In a post-credits scene, the camera zooms in on a quiet park. A minion sits on a bench feeding birds, reading a book titled Villainy for Dummies. A squirrel steals his banana. He screams, throws the book, and chases it with a plunger launcher. Freeze frame right before the screen fades to black, and you'll see the book's back cover reads, "Written by Vector." Every frame of Despicable Me 4 is bursting with these treasures. Not because the filmmakers want to be clever, but because they care. Because they know the audience has grown with these characters. Because they understand that storytelling isn't just about what happens, it's about what you remember. And the memories are stitched not just into scenes, but into shadows, backgrounds, glances, notes, and jokes whispered between the lines. In the end, these details aren't hidden at all. Not really. They are waiting for a second viewing, a pause button, a sharp eye. And when you find them, you're not just watching Despicable Me 4. You're living in it. There's something unexpectedly profound about how Despicable Me 4 builds its emotional weight. It doesn't just rest on the slapstick genius of the minions or the playful absurdity of a villain-turned-dad-turned-hero. Instead, it finds strength in moments that breathe. Those rare pockets of silence, hesitation, or surrender that say more than any punchline or gadget ever could. These are the moments that stay with you, even after the laughter fades. These are the moments that define the film. One of the earliest scenes that casts a long emotional shadow arrives just after the movie's opening mayhem. GRU, now a father once again, walks into the nursery after the baby finally falls asleep. The room is bathed in soft blue light, the sound of a lullaby playing faintly in the background. He stands there, not as a villain, not even as a leader, but as a man trying to hold onto something fragile. It's a simple image, yet deeply intimate. The weight of parenthood, of responsibility, of change. It all settles into his posture as he carefully adjusts the baby blanket. This scene struck audiences not for what it did, but for what it didn't do. No jokes. No interruptions. Just stillness. And in that stillness, viewers were reminded, GRU is no longer trying to be extraordinary, he's trying to be enough. That vulnerability echoes again when GRU confronts Maxim for the first time. The rooftop meeting, surrounded by buzzing drones and neon signs, should have been a classic face-off. But instead of explosions or banter, Maxim delivers a line so sharp it pierces the facade of every previous film. You left the rest of us behind. You found happiness. We found nothing. In that moment, the villain isn't just a threat, he's a metaphor. He represents everyone who couldn't evolve, who stayed frozen in pain while others moved on. It's an indictment, not just of GRU, but of the audience's own nostalgia. The laughter fades, and something heavier takes its place: empathy. The understanding that behind every cartoonish evil, there's a human story that was never told. Then comes the most visually arresting sequence in the entire film: the flashback montage during GRU's lowest point. After Maxim temporarily seizes control and isolates GRU from his family, we see a haunting collage of GRU's past. The frames blur between young GRU building inventions in his bedroom, stealing the moon, dancing with his daughters, and finally cradling his newborn. The colors drain, shifting from vibrant to monochrome. The score quiets into a single, repeated piano note. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just the artistry, it's the reckoning. GRU is forced to ask himself, was it all worth it? Every crime, every redemption, every attempt to change? And as the montage ends with GRU staring at his own reflection, aged, tired, human, it becomes clear that this isn't just a journey of plot. It's a journey of identity. But if that's where the soul of the film lives, the heart of it beats in Agnes. Her return to the center of the emotional narrative comes unexpectedly. After being sidelined early on, she delivers a monologue that brought audiences to tears. Sitting beside GRU after he suffers a rare defeat, she tells him, "You don't have to win to be our hero. You just have to be there." There's no music swell, no clever edit, just her voice, and the unflinching truth of a child who understands more than she lets on. In test screenings, this moment reportedly silenced theaters. It reminded audiences that sometimes the deepest emotional truths are spoken by the smallest voices. But emotion isn't the only power this film wields. It also dares to challenge its own formula. A standout sequence does this with flair. A high-speed chase where the minions, now temporarily mutated into glow-in-the-dark flying squirrels, yes, really, attempt to rescue GRU and the baby from a runaway blimp. It's chaotic, absurd, and everything the franchise has always done well. But halfway through, the sequence pauses. Time slows. The baby is falling, mid-air, and the screen shifts to his POV. He sees the world spinning, lights blurring, and a minion stretching its arms out, mouth open in a silent scream. The visual joke is still there, but so is the fear. So is the panic. For the first time in the franchise, the stakes feel real. And when the rescue is successful, when the baby lands safely in GRU's arms, the theater doesn't laugh. It breathes. This wasn't just spectacle. It was storytelling. Maxim's descent into madness in the final act is another brilliant masterstroke. The villain's arc is traditionally the least emotionally grounded in these films, but Despicable Me 4 flips that on its head. Maxim's transformation into a full cockroach hybrid is grotesque, yes, but it's also poetic. He crawls through his old lair, once pristine, now crumbling, muttering fragments of his past speeches. There's something Shakespearean about it. A king who lost his crown and built a kingdom in the dirt. His final confrontation with GRU doesn't end in a spectacular death. It ends in exile. Alone, scurrying into the dark, he becomes exactly what he feared most: forgotten. Audiences responded with unexpected sympathy. Because in that final look over his shoulder, Maxim isn't just a villain. He's a man consumed by regret. And that's what this film does best. It takes the expected and bends it until it reveals the truth underneath. It's why the minions, so often reduced to comic relief, get their own quiet triumph. In one scene, after being separated from the main group, a handful of them form a plan, not out of instinct or chaos, but out of loyalty. They mimic GRU's gestures, draw a crude battle map in banana peels, and march forward with surprising coordination. It's hilarious. Yes. But it's also touching. These creatures, who began as bumbling sidekicks, now understand the stakes. They don't want glory. They want to go home. All of this builds to a finale that doesn't explode, but exhales. After the final battle, as the family regroups and walks into their home, there's no applause, no public fanfare. Just Jiayu, looking at his daughters, looking at Lucy, and whispering, "We're okay." And that line, it landed harder than any punchline. Because in a world where every moment tries to be bigger than the last, Despicable Me 4 had the courage to be small, to focus on what matters. And audiences felt that. In reviews, in online discussions, and in theaters where people stayed seated, waiting, hoping for one more glimpse of this world before the lights came up. That's what separates the great animated films from the forgettable ones. Not just humor, or visuals, or even character, but resonance. That strange and wonderful alchemy where fiction reflects our fears, our growth, and our hopes back to us. And in scene after scene, Despicable Me 4 doesn't just entertain, it connects. It makes us laugh. Yes. But more importantly, it makes us feel. The magic of Despicable Me 4 wasn't conjured in a single stroke of brilliance, but rather in thousands of carefully orchestrated moments, stitched together by artists, animators, engineers, and storytellers who dared to evolve a beloved franchise. Long before audiences settled into their seats and laughed or gasped at Jiayu's next adventure, there was the quiet hum of innovation echoing through the halls of Illumination Studios. This film didn't just build on what came before, it rewired it. The process began with a single question at the heart of every creative meeting: what haven't we done yet? It wasn't enough to replicate the previous success. The team wanted something bolder, more textured, more alive. And so, the animation pipeline itself underwent a reinvention. For the first time, Illumination developed a proprietary lighting engine, nicknamed Glowstick, which enabled real-time simulation of light refraction on semi-transparent surfaces, a direct response to scenes involving Maxim's transformation. The idea was that his hybrid cockroach form shouldn't feel cartoonish, but unsettlingly real, with the way light slid across his chitin shell, casting eerie shadows even in broad daylight. That one visual decision rippled outward, affecting camera angles, scene composition, and even how character movement was choreographed. But visuals alone don't create wonder. It's how they serve story that matters. When the story team introduced the baby, Jiayu Jr., they knew the challenge wouldn't be in design, but in behavior. This child had to feel truly alive, not just animated. To achieve this, the animators embedded tiny, almost imperceptible gestures. The way his eyes scanned a room, the stagger in his early steps, the unpredictable shift from laughter to tears. Each frame was informed by real-world references. A small team spent weeks filming infants under natural light, studying how emotion bloomed across their faces in waves. Those same cues were layered into the baby's facial rigging, which boasted the most advanced emotional palette the studio had ever created, capable of transitioning between 10 micro-expressions within a single second. There's a moment, about midway through the film, where the baby silently reaches for Jiayu's face after his wounded. That moment, a blink-and-you-miss-it gesture, took over 3 weeks to animate. Why? Because it had to feel earned. The studio believed that animation, like live action, needs silence and nuance. And so they gave it room. Meanwhile, the Minions, chaotic as ever, presented a different kind of challenge: controlled unpredictability. While much of their humor feels spontaneous, every Minion moment is choreographed like a ballet. For one particularly elaborate sequence involving a high-speed chase through a subterranean junkyard, the animation team built a 3D blueprint of the entire junkyard space. But instead of pre-programming every movement, they let the Minions' actions run through a physics simulator designed to mimic slapstick timing. From there, the animators refined the chaos, adding pauses, double takes, and improbable rebounds. The result? A scene that feels both chaotic and precise, like watching comedy just performed by yellow marshmallows. But not everything came easily. The development of Maxim's lair, a blend of decaying aristocracy and insectoid horror, pushed the art department to the brink. Early concepts leaned too heavily on gothic horror and felt disconnected from the playful tone. So the team pivoted. They started studying termite mounds and ant colonies, not just for visuals, but for philosophy, how structure and function intermingle. The lair became less of a villain's hideout and more of a twisted hive, pulsing with symmetry and strange logic. To sell the organic feel, the texture team created new shading algorithms that mimicked the fractal growth patterns found in fungus and coral reefs. The result was a space that breathed, alive, unsettling, unforgettable. Music, too, played a pivotal role in redefining the emotional landscape. Hita Pereira returned to compose the score, but this time, with a mandate to go deeper. Instead of relying solely on whimsical motifs, he introduced layered themes. Each character had a signature instrument. Giu's scenes carried the rumble of a muted cello, echoing his inner restraint. The baby's cues were built on a glockenspiel, light and fragile. Maxim's theme, however, was born of an experiment. Reverse-composed piano chords played through a vintage tape delay, creating a warped, echoing descent. The themes didn't just accompany the scenes, they shaped them. In post-production, several moments were edited to match musical crescendos, not the other way around. Even the voice work took on new complexity. Steve Carell, reprising his role as Giu, spent weeks in the studio not just recording lines, but reinterpreting them. For the first time, the voice sessions were recorded in full-body capture environments. This allowed animators to align Giu's vocal nuance with physical movement. Carell's subtle shifts, shoulder tension, head tilts, hand twitches, were tracked and fed directly into the animation workflow. It wasn't performance inspired by voice, it was performance born of it. Kristen Wiig, returning as Lucy, recorded her scenes opposite Carell, something rare in animated production. The creative team wanted their chemistry to feel organic, to let improvisation find its way into the final cut. And it did. One of the film's most beloved exchanges, Lucy trying to calm the baby with an off-key lullaby while Giu scolds the minions in the background, was entirely ad-libbed. What made it into the movie wasn't in the script, but felt too real to leave on the cutting room floor. There were also moments of crisis. Midway through production, a major server crash threatened to erase weeks of rendering data. The studio's IT and rendering departments worked around the clock to recover scenes, while the animation leads restructured the workflow to prioritize essential sequences. It was, according to insiders, one of the most stressful moments in the studio's history. Yet in classic Despicable Me spirit, they didn't just recover, they improved. They built redundancies, optimized rendering processes, and even developed a new AI-assisted tracking system that would become standard in future productions. Perhaps the film's boldest innovation came in its final minutes, the epilogue sequence done entirely in hand-painted 2D animation. This stylistic departure wasn't just aesthetic, it was narrative. The team wanted to end the film as if the story were being remembered, not just watched. So they worked with a small team of animators from around the world to develop a painterly style, drawing inspiration from European storybooks. Every frame was hand-drawn, then digitally scanned and animated using spline-based motion curves, giving the illusion of flickering memory. It took nearly 6 months to produce just 90 seconds of footage. But when the credits rolled, audiences stayed, silent, moved, transfixed. In the end, Despicable Me 4 wasn't just a continuation. It was a reinvention. It reimagined what this world could look like, sound like, feel like. And all of it, every laugh, every gasp, every tear, was the result of tireless invention, risk-taking, and a belief that animation isn't just for children. It's for everyone willing to believe. From the very first scene, Despicable Me 4 invites us into a world of spectacle and hilarity. But beneath the slapstick chaos and vibrant animation lies a surprisingly rich emotional tapestry, stitched together with universal themes, biting satire, and layered symbolism. It's this duality that makes the film resonate long after the laughter fades, because even as Giu fends off villainous threats and babysits a chaos-infused infant, the story quietly reflects back pieces of ourselves and the world we live in. At the core of the narrative lies the theme of transformation, an idea that echoes through every character arc, visual motif, and dramatic twist. Giu, who once saw the world in terms of control and efficiency, now finds himself helpless before the randomness of fatherhood. The arrival of Giu Jr. isn't just a plot device, it's a symbolic reset, forcing Giu to confront the fragility of his identity. Once feared as a supervillain, now he's fighting diaper blowouts and toddler tantrums, and the contrast is profound. The transformation isn't played for laughs alone. It mirrors the human experience of reinvention, especially as we move from one stage of life to another. The film gently suggests that real strength isn't found in schemes or gadgets, but in the ability to adapt, to surrender ego, and to love without condition. Then there's Maxim, the self-obsessed villain whose descent into a human-cockroach hybrid is more than grotesque, it's allegorical. His mutation is a literal embodiment of unchecked vanity and ambition. Obsessed with survival and superiority, Maxim sees evolution not as growth, but as dominance. His transformation reflects the dangers of detachment from humanity, a sharp commentary on ego, elitism, and the dehumanizing effects of power. By contrasting Maxim's physical metamorphosis with Giu's emotional one, the film quietly critiques the modern obsession with status, image, and control. In one visually striking scene, Maxim sheds his human skin in front of a mirror while declaring that weakness is a myth. It's grotesque, yes, but it's also deeply symbolic, the ultimate consequence of self-worship in a world that demands empathy. The film doesn't stop at personal transformation. It expands its thematic lens to examine family. But this isn't the sanitized, hallmark version of family. It's messy, chaotic, loud, and painfully real. Lucy and Giu struggle to maintain unity amidst growing pressure. The girls, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, each begin to find their own voices, drifting from the nest in subtle, human ways. And in this, Despicable Me 4 captures a beautifully bittersweet truth, that parenting isn't about preserving the past, but preparing for inevitable change. The family unit becomes a microcosm of evolving relationships, how love shifts, expands, and sometimes stumbles under the weight of time and responsibility. Even the minions, so often seen as comic relief, play into this thematic structure. Their loyalty is absolute, but here we see it tested. As some are chosen for secret missions while others are left behind, a quiet tension brews, echoing real-world conversations about purpose and recognition in the workplace. One minion, Kevin, even tries to strike out on his own, forming a brief alliance with a rival faction before returning, wiser, if not bruised. It's a subtle nod to individualism versus collectivism, framed through the lens of animated mayhem. But beneath the yellow goggles, there's a real exploration of belonging. Beyond characters, the film uses visual symbolism to underline its deeper messages. Maxim's lair, with its twisting tunnels and insectile patterns, is more than a hideout, it's a metaphor for echo chambers. The deeper one ventures, the more self-reinforcing it becomes. No outside light, no contrary opinion, just the buzzing of his own beliefs. Contrast this with the open, light-filled chaos of Giu's home, a space that's imperfect but breathable, always adapting to whoever enters. Architecture becomes philosophy. Space becomes story. Color, too, becomes a vehicle for symbolism. Giu's palette shifts throughout the film, from stark grays to warmer, richer tones as he grows emotionally. Maxim's world, meanwhile, is saturated in sickly greens and browns, the shades of decay and toxicity. Lucy, dressed consistently in soft blues and purples, represents calm and reason, a quiet stabilizer in the film's emotional spectrum. Even Giu Jr., often clad in bright yellows and oranges, seems to pulse with potential and disruption, like a sunrise that promises both warmth and unpredictability. Then there's the film's social commentary, woven so naturally into the fabric of the story that it never feels preachy. One of the more striking undercurrents is the satire of digital culture. Maxim's rise to villainy is fueled in part by viral videos and a cult following built through exaggerated online personas. He manipulates perception, leveraging algorithms and sound bites to build fear and admiration. It's a pointed critique of influencer culture, where visibility is often mistaken for value. The film doesn't wag its finger, it simply holds up a mirror, asking, what happens when spectacle becomes substance? The role of authority is also subtly interrogated. The AVL, Antivillain League, once a beacon of justice, is portrayed here as a slow-moving, bureaucracy-laden system, often 2 steps behind the actual threats. GRU finds himself operating outside the official channels, using instinct and improvisation to outpace a system bogged down by its own rules. In this, the film gently critiques institutional rigidity, a reminder that heroism often happens at the margins, in messy and sanctioned moments that don't fit clean protocols. Even parenting itself becomes a lens for cultural reflection. Through Lucy and GRU's differing approaches to raising a family while navigating crisis, the movie addresses gender roles with humor and honesty. Lucy's journey isn't just about being a mother, it's about holding onto her sense of self while nurturing others. GRU, traditionally cast as the fumbling dad, becomes something more, an active, evolving co-parent who learns that vulnerability is not a flaw, but a strength. These dynamics challenge traditional portrayals of masculinity and femininity in animation, offering a more nuanced, modern take on what it means to care. Religious symbolism even makes a quiet appearance, intentionally or not. Maxim's evolution into a bug-like messiah figure for his followers evokes cult imagery, complete with iconography and chants that parody religious devotion. The message is clear: belief without discernment is dangerous. Conversely, the film champions faith grounded in love and trust, like the kind GRU's daughters show when they choose to stand by him even when the world turns away. And perhaps most compelling is how the film handles the idea of legacy. GRU grapples with what he'll leave behind, not just materially, but emotionally. His fears about GRU Jr. echo the anxiety many parents feel about the world their children will inherit. Through him, Despicable Me 4 gently asks, what kind of example are we setting? What kind of future are we building? The answers don't come easily, but the questions are the point. They linger, long after the final credits. In the end, what makes Despicable Me 4 so rich thematically is that it doesn't lecture, it lives its values. It wraps profound truths in laughter, disguises lessons as chase scenes, and hides depth behind every banana joke. It's a film that rewards not just the eyes, but the heart and mind, a reminder that even the most outlandish stories can reflect our deepest truths. As we follow GRU on his latest misadventure, Despicable Me 4 unfolds not just as a story of family and transformation, but as a testament to the art of visual storytelling. Every frame, every color, and every sound has been carefully crafted to enhance the emotional weight of the film's themes, while also drawing us deeper into the chaos of GRU's world. Behind the animated spectacle lies a masterful use of cinematic techniques that elevate the experience beyond mere entertainment. The film's visual style is an evolution of the bright, playful aesthetic established in the previous installments, but with a maturity that reflects the growth of its characters and their world. From the moment the opening credits roll, it's clear that this film is not content to rely solely on the familiar. Despicable Me 4 pushes boundaries in terms of both visual complexity and emotional depth. Cinematography, framing a world of chaos. One of the most striking features of Despicable Me 4 is its dynamic use of the camera to amplify the chaos, intimacy, and tension of the story. The cinematography isn't just a backdrop, it becomes a participant in the narrative, reflecting the emotional arc of GRU's journey as well as the film's broader thematic explorations. Early in the film, the framing feels tight and focused. In scenes where GRU interacts with his family or struggles with his new responsibilities as a father, the shots often center around his face or hands. The camera lingers just a bit longer than necessary, forcing us to feel his discomfort and internal struggle. It's a subtle but effective way of showing that GRU is caught in a moment of transition, caught between his past as a supervillain and his present as a reluctant parent. As the story unfolds, the camera becomes more dynamic, much like the character arcs. The action sequences, such as the chase through Maxim's lair or the daring rescue missions, feature sweeping, fluid shots that emphasize speed and scale. The movements are controlled, almost surgical, as if choreographed to reflect the precision of the minions' zaniness. Yet there's always a slight looseness in the frame, just enough to remind us that things can, and will, spiral out of control at any moment. This fluidity mirrors the emotional arcs, where things may seem stable for a moment before they shift into chaos. The use of depth of field is another key technique, especially in scenes that juxtapose GRU's internal world with the external chaos. In moments of quiet reflection, the background blurs, isolating GRU and his family in their own bubble. But as the tension rises, the background sharpens, and the frames stretch out to show the sprawling complexity of the world around them. This shifting focus helps ground us in GRU's perspective, constantly reminding us that while the world may seem overwhelmingly large and uncontrollable, it's the emotional connections that ground us. Visual style, color, texture, and symbolism. In Despicable Me 4, color plays an integral role in setting the tone of the narrative and highlighting the psychological state of the characters. Early in the film, GRU's environment is dominated by grays, muted blues, and blacks, reflecting his isolation and the heavy responsibility that weighs on him. The minions, always bright and optimistic, pop against this more somber backdrop, their yellow bodies a visual reminder of the joy GRU is slowly rediscovering. Maxim's world, however, is a darker, more oppressive place. His lair is awash in sickly greens and browns, colors traditionally associated with decay and rot. The film's color palette shifts subtly as GRU's character evolves. Once he begins to accept the messiness of his new life, the colors around him warm, pulling in rich golds, reds, and earth tones. It's as if the world is responding to his internal transformation, reflecting his journey toward embracing vulnerability and love. The film's texture work also deserves attention. Maxim's insect-like form is rendered with incredible detail, showcasing the writhing patterns of his mutated skin and the glistening, almost sticky texture of his cockroach shell. The contrast between GRU's smooth, almost polished appearance and Maxim's grotesque, organic form highlights the stark difference between the two characters, one controlled, the other driven by unchecked desire. This visual contrast deepens the thematic divide between the two men, one grounded in familial love and the other in selfish ambition. Additionally, the intricacy of the environments, the rich detail in GRU's home and the labyrinthine complexity of Maxim's lair, creates a visual language that mirrors the emotional complexity of the story. GRU's house is cluttered with warmth, filled with objects that tell stories of his past, his villainous schemes, his early days as a father, while Maxim's lair is sterile, meticulously designed to reflect his obsession with perfection and control. Every set, every surface, feels like a character in its own right, influencing the action and reflecting the psychological undercurrents of the narrative. Editing, rhythm, pacing, and emotional beats. The editing in Despicable Me 4 plays a pivotal role in shaping the emotional rhythms of the story. Much like the characters themselves, the pacing ebbs and flows, moving from frantic action to moments of quiet reflection with a sense of purpose and care. It's in these quieter moments that the editing shines, slowing down the pace to allow the emotional beats to land without feeling rushed. For example, in the scene where GRU is alone with GRU Jr., struggling to comfort the infant in the midst of his overwhelming new responsibilities, the editing lingers on the smallest details. The camera holds on GRU's face, capturing the frustration, fear, and love swirling in his eyes. The cuts are few, but each one is purposeful, giving us the time we need to absorb GRU's emotional complexity. In contrast, during the action sequences, the editing becomes faster, more chaotic. Quick cuts create a sense of urgency, heightening the tension of the chase or the threat. The frantic pace mirrors the confusion and panic of the characters, especially as GRU finds himself out of his depth. But even in these high-energy sequences, the editing never loses its sense of rhythm. It's not simply about speed, but about conveying a feeling of relentless motion, where the action and the stakes are constantly escalating. Religious symbolism even makes a quiet appearance, intentionally or not. Maxim's evolution into a bug-like messiah figure for his followers evokes cult imagery, complete with iconography and chants that parody religious devotion. The message is clear: belief without discernment is dangerous. Conversely, the film champions faith grounded in love and trust, like the kind GRU's daughters show when they choose to stand by him even when the world turns away. And perhaps most compelling is how the film handles the idea of legacy. GRU grapples with what he'll leave behind, not just materially, but emotionally. His fears about Giu Jr. echo the anxiety many parents feel about the world their children will inherit. Through him, Despicable Me 4 gently asks, what kind of example are we setting? What kind of future are we building? The answers don't come easily, but the questions are the point. They linger, long after the final credits. In the end, what makes Despicable Me 4 so rich thematically is that it doesn't lecture, it lives its values. It wraps profound truths in laughter, disguises lessons as chase scenes, and hides depth behind every banana joke. It's a film that rewards not just the eyes, but the heart and mind, a reminder that even the most outlandish stories can reflect our deepest truths. As we follow Giu on his latest misadventure, Despicable Me 4 unfolds not just as a story of family and transformation, but as a testament to the art of visual storytelling. Every frame, every color, and every sound has been carefully crafted to enhance the emotional weight of the film's themes, while also drawing us deeper into the chaos of Giu's world. Behind the animated spectacle lies a masterful use of cinematic techniques that elevate the experience beyond mere entertainment. The film's visual style is an evolution of the bright, playful aesthetic established in the previous installments, but with a maturity that reflects the growth of its characters and their world. From the moment the opening credits roll, it's clear that this film is not content to rely solely on the familiar. Despicable Me 4 pushes boundaries in terms of both visual complexity and emotional depth. Cinematography, framing a world of chaos. One of the most striking features of Despicable Me 4 is its dynamic use of the camera to amplify the chaos, intimacy, and tension of the story. The cinematography isn't just a backdrop, it becomes a participant in the narrative, reflecting the emotional arc of Giu's journey as well as the film's broader thematic explorations. Early in the film, the framing feels tight and focused. In scenes where Giu interacts with his family or struggles with his new responsibilities as a father, the shots often center around his face or hands. The camera lingers just a bit longer than necessary, forcing us to feel his discomfort and internal struggle. It's a subtle but effective way of showing that Giu is caught in a moment of transition, caught between his past as a supervillain and his present as a reluctant parent. As the story unfolds, the camera becomes more dynamic, much like the character arcs. The action sequences, such as the chase through Maxim's lair or the daring rescue missions, feature sweeping, fluid shots that emphasize speed and scale. The movements are controlled, almost surgical, as if choreographed to reflect the precision of the minions' zaniness. Yet there's always a slight looseness in the frame, just enough to remind us that things can, and will, spiral out of control at any moment. This fluidity mirrors the emotional arcs, where things may seem stable for a moment before they shift into chaos. The use of depth of field is another key technique, especially in scenes that juxtapose Giu's internal world with the external chaos. In moments of quiet reflection, the background blurs, isolating Giu and his family in their own bubble. But as the tension rises, the background sharpens, and the frames stretch out to show the sprawling complexity of the world around them. This shifting focus helps ground us in Giu's perspective, constantly reminding us that while the world may seem overwhelmingly large and uncontrollable, it's the emotional connections that ground us. Visual style, color, texture, and symbolism. In Despicable Me 4, color plays an integral role in setting the tone of the narrative and highlighting the psychological state of the characters. Early in the film, Giu's environment is dominated by grays, muted blues, and blacks, reflecting his isolation and the heavy responsibility that weighs on him. The minions, always bright and optimistic, pop against this more somber backdrop, their yellow bodies a visual reminder of the joy Giu is slowly rediscovering. Maxim's world, however, is a darker, more oppressive place. His lair is awash in sickly greens and browns, colors traditionally associated with decay and rot. The film's color palette shifts subtly as Giu's character evolves. Once he begins to accept the messiness of his new life, the colors around him warm, pulling in rich golds, reds, and earth tones. It's as if the world is responding to his internal transformation, reflecting his journey toward embracing vulnerability and love. The film's texture work also deserves attention. Maxim's insect-like form is rendered with incredible detail, showcasing the writhing patterns of his mutated skin and the glistening, almost sticky texture of his cockroach shell. The contrast between Giu's smooth, almost polished appearance and Maxim's grotesque, organic form highlights the stark difference between the two characters, one controlled, the other driven by unchecked desire. This visual contrast deepens the thematic divide between the two men, one grounded in familial love and the other in selfish ambition. Additionally, the intricacy of the environments, the rich detail in Giu's home and the labyrinthine complexity of Maxim's lair, creates a visual language that mirrors the emotional complexity of the story. Giu's house is cluttered with warmth, filled with objects that tell stories of his past, his villainous schemes, his early days as a father, while Maxim's lair is sterile, meticulously designed to reflect his obsession with perfection and control. Every set, every surface, feels like a character in its own right, influencing the action and reflecting the psychological undercurrents of the narrative. Editing, rhythm, pacing, and emotional beats. The editing in Despicable Me 4 plays a pivotal role in shaping the emotional rhythms of the story. Much like the characters themselves, the pacing ebbs and flows, moving from frantic action to moments of quiet reflection with a sense of purpose and care. It's in these quieter moments that the editing shines, slowing down the pace to allow the emotional beats to land without feeling rushed. For example, in the scene where Giu is alone with Giu Jr., struggling to comfort the infant in the midst of his overwhelming new responsibilities, the editing lingers on the smallest details. The camera holds on Giu's face, capturing the frustration, fear, and love swirling in his eyes. The cuts are few, but each one is purposeful, giving us the time we need to absorb Giu's emotional complexity. But the film's brilliance doesn't rest solely on the lead duo. The minions, voiced by Pierre Coffin, inject their signature chaos into every scene, and their dynamic with Giu adds a layer of warmth that has become the franchise's hallmark. While the minions are often the comedic relief, their ability to communicate without words allows them to deepen the emotional connection between them and Giu. Their loyalty and affection for him have always been central to the story, and this installment offers an even more nuanced portrayal of their friendship. One standout performance comes from the introduction of a new character, Maxim, voiced by a charismatic yet enigmatic actor. Maxim is the antagonist, and while his presence is initially threatening, the actor's portrayal brings a complexity to the character that transforms him into more than just a villain. The nuanced performance elevates the stakes, and the tension between Giu and Maxim feels deeply personal, as if it were a battle not just between good and evil, but between two opposing worldviews. The relationship between Maxim and Giu evolves throughout the film, with moments of genuine confrontation and the subtle revelation of their shared history. But what truly sets Despicable Me 4 apart is the unspoken bond between the cast and the creative team. Behind the scenes, there are countless stories of collaboration and camaraderie that shaped the final product. Carell and Wiig's ad-libbed moments often made their way into the final cut, with the director allowing for improvisation to bring an added layer of spontaneity to their interactions. This was especially true during the quieter, more intimate scenes where Giu and Luce's relationship is tested. These moments, crafted from genuine improvisation, feel even more authentic and intimate. Set dynamics, creating a world of chaos and heart. While the actors brought their characters to life with remarkable depth, the set dynamics also played a crucial role in shaping the world that audiences came to know and love. The physical sets, even in an animated film, are meticulously designed to reflect the personalities of the characters. Giu's home, now an amalgamation of both his villainous past and his family life, is a perfect example of how set design informs character. There are remnants of his former life as a supervillain scattered around the house. Leftover gadgets, blueprints for past heists, blended seamlessly with family photos, toys, and objects of sentimental value. The balance between these two worlds mirrors Giu's internal conflict and gives the audience a window into his transformation over the course of the film. Maxim's lair, in contrast, is cold, sterile, and unnervingly perfect. Its sharp angles and gleaming surfaces reflect his obsession with control and order. The design of the lair was a deliberate choice, contrasting sharply with Giu's more chaotic world, and it serves to heighten the tension between the two characters. The set itself almost becomes a character, influencing the interactions and pushing the story forward. The set pieces weren't just a backdrop. They were a reflection of the narrative's emotional beats. For instance, during the film's climax, the changing environments mirror the emotional arc of the characters. As Jiayu confronts Maxim, the shifting, unstable set reflects the inner turmoil of both men, giving the audience a visual manifestation of the stakes. While the main action takes place in these iconic locations, the Minions scenes are often filled with madcap energy, pulling in every corner of the set. The chaos they bring with them makes the sets feel alive in a way that is both amusing and engaging. The fact that they can turn even the most mundane space into a whirlwind of action is testament to how the set design was built with an understanding of their unrestrained nature. Every room and every prop has been animated with the Minions in mind, each one bringing a unique slapstick flavor to the proceedings. Behind the scenes, crafting the final product. The success of Despicable Me 4 cannot be attributed to the cast alone. It is a result of meticulous planning, collaboration, and sometimes overcoming unexpected hurdles. Behind the scenes, the team was tasked with bringing a film to life that would not only satisfy longtime fans of the series but also raise the stakes for Jiayu and his family in ways that hadn't been done before. One of the key challenges faced during production was ensuring the film maintained its signature humor while also delivering the deeper, emotional moments the story demanded. Director Kyle Balder, who helmed the film, often spoke about the balancing act between making sure the comedy didn't overshadow the heart of the story. Early test screenings were essential in fine-tuning the emotional pacing. In one early draft, the action sequences were more heavily emphasized, but as the filmmakers reworked the narrative, they recognized that the heart of the story lay in Jiayu's relationship with his family and his journey of self-acceptance. This realization led to a more emotional and family-centric approach, which ultimately resonated with audiences on a deeper level. The development of the animation itself also required overcoming significant technological hurdles. The team pushed the limits of animation, particularly in how they depicted Maxim's character and his monstrous form. The team worked tirelessly to create the effect of his insect-like movements, experimenting with various textures and lighting techniques to make his character both unsettling and compelling. The challenge was not only to design a villain that could hold his own against Jiayu, but also to ensure that Maxim's visual design fit into the already established world of Despicable Me. This delicate balance of innovation and familiarity played a key role in shaping the final product. As production moved toward its final stages, the post-production team faced another unexpected challenge. The sound design, always a critical element in the Despicable Me franchise, had to evolve to match the heightened emotional stakes of the film. New sound techniques were developed for the climactic sequences, where the soundscape shifts between Jiayu's personal internal struggles and the external chaos of battle. The innovative use of sound in the final act is a result of collaboration between the sound designers and the animators, who carefully synced sound with action to create a fully immersive experience for the audience. Audience reactions, embracing the new and the familiar. Upon its release, Despicable Me 4 immediately captured the hearts of audiences. Fans who had grown up with Jiayu's adventures found themselves drawn back into his world, but this time, with a deeper appreciation for the character's evolution. The humor was as sharp and witty as ever, but it was the emotional core of the film that resonated most with audiences. Jiayu's struggle to balance his past and present, coupled with his desire to be a good father, struck a chord with viewers of all ages. The universal themes of family, growth, and redemption were reflected in the response from the audience, who embraced the film not just as a continuation of a beloved series but as a reflection of their own experiences. Critics were quick to praise the film's ability to blend the humor that defined the franchise with emotional depth that added a new layer of complexity to the story. The performances, especially from Carell and Wiig, were widely lauded for their ability to bring warmth to their characters without losing their comedic edge. The introduction of Maxim, with his layered motivations and charismatic performance, was also highlighted as a standout moment, bringing fresh energy to the franchise. The long-term engagement with fans was another testament to the film's success. In the weeks following its release, social media was abuzz with discussions about the film's hidden details and emotional moments. Fans dissected the visual motifs and subtle character arcs, sharing their own interpretations of Jiayu's journey. The film sparked new fan theories and a renewed appreciation for the franchise's ability to evolve while staying true to its roots. Conclusion. a film crafted from heart and chemistry. Despicable Me 4 is more than just an animated comedy. It's a culmination of years of collaborative effort, from the chemistry between its cast to the innovative techniques employed by the production team. Behind every laugh, every heartfelt moment, and every action-packed sequence is a team working tirelessly to bring a world to life that resonates with audiences on a deeply emotional level. The film's success lies in its ability to balance humor and heart, offering viewers an experience that is both entertaining and meaningful. It's a film that not only builds on the beloved legacy of the franchise but also enhances it with moments of surprising depth and universal relatability. Despicable Me 4 stands not only as a worthy continuation of its iconic franchise but also as a cultural milestone that redefines how animated films can blend humor, heart, and visual innovation. As it gracefully unfolds its legacy, the film not only solidifies the influence of Despicable Me on contemporary animation, but also reasserts the power of storytelling in the realm of family cinema. Far beyond just being a commercial success, the film has woven itself into the fabric of popular culture, influencing filmmakers, creators, and audiences alike. Its lasting impact can be traced through its genre-shaping elements, the creative breakthroughs it introduced, and its reflection of evolving societal themes that resonate even years after its release. Influence on genre and filmmaking. One of the most striking aspects of Despicable Me 4 is its seamless ability to remain a beloved family film while pushing the boundaries of what animated movies can achieve. The franchise, known for its signature blend of slapstick humor and emotional depth, has consistently set a high bar for the genre. But Despicable Me 4 transcends the usual tropes of animated films by infusing it with a level of sophistication that elevates the entire genre. It demonstrates that animated films are not just for children but can tackle mature, complex themes in ways that are both accessible and emotionally resonant for audiences of all ages. In many ways, Despicable Me 4 is the pinnacle of the modern animation movement, where the boundaries between children's films and adult cinema blur. The film's focus on family dynamics and personal growth resonates with a broad audience, and its ability to balance laugh-out-loud comedy with poignant moments reflects a trend in animated filmmaking that has been gaining traction over the last decade. Films like Toy Story 3, Inside Out, and Coco have all followed in similar footsteps, blending fun with deep emotional narratives that stay with viewers long after the credits roll. However, Despicable Me 4 refines this formula by taking the emotional stakes even higher, creating a story that feels both universally relatable and distinctly personal. Filmmakers across the animation industry have cited Despicable Me 4 as a touchstone for how to craft stories that are emotionally complex yet entertaining for younger audiences. The film also reaffirms the continued importance of strong voice performances in animated features. The casting of actors like Steve Carell and Kristen Wiig, whose performances are as layered as they are humorous, sets a precedent for how crucial strong, emotionally charged performances are to the success of animated films. As animation continues to evolve, the integration of celebrity voice talent with genuine emotional investment is something filmmakers will no doubt emulate in future productions. On a technical level, Despicable Me 4 pushed the limits of animation technology, particularly in the way it used visual effects to underscore its narrative. The action sequences, from fast-paced chase scenes to larger-than-life battles, were executed with a level of fluidity and precision that showcased the advancements in CGI. These technical feats have set new standards for visual spectacle in animated films, proving that the medium is not just capable of whimsical fantasy but can also convey high-stakes drama and action with stunning realism. A lasting impact, awards, milestones, and cultural relevance. When examining Despicable Me 4's cultural impact, one can't overlook the film's impressive array of awards, accolades, and its continual presence in the popular consciousness. Upon its release, the film was met with widespread critical acclaim, earning a spot in the pantheon of the best animated films of the decade. Its ability to resonate emotionally with audiences contributed to a slew of prestigious award nominations, including Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations for Best Animated Feature. While these awards are often considered the crowning achievements of a film, the true testament to Despicable Me 4's legacy lies in the way it has solidified itself as a beloved cultural artifact. The success of the film's music and soundtracks also contributed to its lasting cultural relevance. The soundtrack, featuring a blend of original compositions and carefully chosen songs that complement the film's emotional beats, became a chart-topping success. Memorable tracks and themes, especially those associated with GRU's journey, have become iconic in their own right, frequently referenced and played during family gatherings, car rides, and even social media posts. The Minions, in particular, have become pop culture icons, their infectious antics and distinct language becoming synonymous with the franchise itself. Their presence in mainstream advertising, fashion, and various other media platforms proves the cultural penetration Despicable Me 4 achieved beyond the movie theater. The film's international appeal is another reason for its enduring legacy. Its ability to connect with audiences from various cultural backgrounds is a testament to the universal themes it explores. The emotional beats surrounding family, growth, and redemption transcend language barriers, and the visual spectacle of the film further contributes to its international popularity. This global connection has ensured Despicable Me 4 remains relevant across generations, sparking discussions, fan theories, and celebrations of its story all around the world. Reflection of evolving societal themes. What truly sets Despicable Me 4 apart, however, is its subtle yet powerful commentary on societal changes and the evolution of family dynamics. As the world continues to evolve in terms of social, economic, and political landscapes, the film's exploration of personal transformation and the pursuit of balance between career and family feels incredibly timely. GRU's struggle to reconcile his past with his present is symbolic of a larger generational shift, one where individuals are constantly torn between past mistakes and the desire to build a better future. This theme, which resonates across a wide spectrum of viewers, is particularly poignant in an era where people are questioning their roles in society and seeking personal fulfillment. The film also addresses the complexities of parenthood in a modern world. GRU's relationship with his daughters has always been central to the Despicable Me series, but in this film, it takes on an added layer of depth as GRU grapples with his evolving identity as both a father and an individual with his own dreams and struggles. The storyline reflects the ongoing conversations about work-life balance and the importance of mental health, themes that have become central in contemporary discussions about the pressures of modern life. By addressing these issues in a family-friendly manner, the film opens up important conversations in households across the world, encouraging viewers to reflect on their own relationships and aspirations. Another standout social theme within Despicable Me 4 is its portrayal of inclusivity and diversity. While the primary focus remains on GRU's personal journey, the supporting characters, particularly the introduction of Maxim, the antagonist, reflect the complexities of human relationships, power, and understanding. The film doesn't shy away from exploring the tension between differences but also emphasizes how these differences can lead to growth and understanding, rather than conflict. It's a narrative that mirrors the increasingly global and interconnected world we live in, reminding viewers of the importance of empathy and unity in overcoming challenges. The franchise's enduring significance. As time passes, Despicable Me 4 will undoubtedly remain a touchstone for animated films, especially those within the comedy and family genres. Its impact on both the Despicable Me franchise and the world of animation at large cannot be overstated. With each new iteration, the franchise continues to evolve and deepen its exploration of family, self-worth, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. The themes introduced in Despicable Me 4 are timeless, reflecting universal struggles and joys that transcend cultural and generational boundaries. Moreover, its legacy is one that has permeated every corner of entertainment, from theme parks to merchandise to digital media. The Minions have become more than just animated characters. They've become a cultural phenomenon. Their signature language and zany antics are instantly recognizable, and their infectious nature continues to drive the franchise forward. As a result, Despicable Me 4 will be remembered as the film that not only deepened the series' emotional core, but also ensured its place in the wider pop culture lexicon for years to come. The film's place in the cultural landscape is secured. Its message of personal growth, familial love, and the humor that makes life bearable will continue to resonate with audiences, whether they're experiencing it for the first time or revisiting it with the perspective of time. This lasting appeal ensures that Despicable Me 4 remains significant, its influence, impact, and relevance unyielding across generations. Ultimately, the film is not just a moment in cinema but a legacy that will continue to inspire, entertain, and engage audiences for decades. Despicable Me 4 stands as an extraordinary achievement in both the realm of animated cinema and the world of storytelling as a whole. With a blend of humor, heart, and visual innovation, it reaffirms the franchise's position as one of the most beloved in cinematic history. From its creative exploration of family dynamics and the growth of its iconic characters to the cutting-edge animation techniques that define its aesthetic, Despicable Me 4 has everything that makes a film unforgettable. It's a tale of personal redemption, the bonds of family, and the powerful realization that no matter how much life changes, the importance of love and connection remains the same. The movie's ability to balance light-hearted comedy with deep emotional beats is a testament to its remarkable storytelling. Through Giu's journey, the audience is reminded of the complexities of growing up and navigating the pressures of success, family, and self-identity. This deeper emotional resonance is what makes the film stand out in a genre often known for more surface-level entertainment. It's not just about the laughs and action sequences. It's about the moments that stick with us, making us reflect on our own lives and relationships. The film's visual brilliance, from its stunning animation to its meticulous attention to detail, ensures that Despicable Me 4 is not just an entertaining ride but a visual feast. The film takes full advantage of the animation medium, creating worlds so immersive and dynamic that they draw the audience into every moment. Whether it's the fast-paced, jaw-dropping action scenes or the quiet, intimate moments between characters, the visuals work in harmony with the narrative, enriching the storytelling experience. Moreover, the chemistry between the characters remains one of the franchise's strongest elements, especially in this installment. The dynamic between Giu, his family, and the quirky minions continues to evolve in ways that feel natural, meaningful, and emotionally rewarding. This sense of growth is integral to the film's broader message of transformation, not only of its characters but also of its audience, who may find themselves reflecting on their own personal journeys as they watch these characters navigate their own. In terms of cultural impact, Despicable Me 4 has far surpassed the expectations set for it, becoming more than just a box office hit. It has become a cultural phenomenon, cementing the Minions as icons in their own right. Their global appeal transcends language and borders, making them a universal symbol of joy and mischief. The movie itself continues to be a touchstone for animated films and family cinema, proving that there's a place for deep, thought-provoking narratives alongside vibrant, whimsical humor. With its blend of adventure, humor, and meaningful themes, Despicable Me 4 has set a new standard for what animated films can achieve. It's a testament to the power of animation as a storytelling tool that is just as capable of delivering profound, resonant experiences as any live-action feature. The film's ability to tackle real-world themes, like family dynamics, personal growth, and the pursuit of balance, ensures its relevance for years to come. What makes Despicable Me 4 so exceptional is not just the laughter it brings, but the way it invites us to reflect on the values that truly matter in life. Through Giu's journey of self-discovery, we are reminded that the road to personal fulfillment is often complicated, filled with missteps, but ultimately worth it when we stay true to those who matter most. The emotional payoff of the film resonates long after the credits roll, encouraging viewers to cherish their relationships and find their own path to happiness. Looking back on this journey through Despicable Me 4, it's clear that the movie isn't just a continuation of a beloved franchise. It's a celebration of growth, love, and redemption. It's a story that stays with you, that makes you laugh, makes you think, and reminds you of the enduring power of family. Whether you're watching it for the first time or revisiting it with a new perspective, the film's emotional depth and timeless themes make it a classic that will endure for generations. As we reach the end of this breakdown, it's impossible not to be excited about what's to come. Despicable Me 4 might just be the perfect example of how a franchise can evolve and surprise us while staying true to the heart of what makes it great. The film has set a new benchmark for animated films, showing us that there's always room for more growth, humor, and emotional depth. It's a movie that invites us to laugh, cry, and, most importantly, reflect on the bonds that truly matter. So, if you love this breakdown and want to dive deeper into the world of cinema, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of your favorite films. Let's keep exploring movies together, because the journey through cinema is one that never ends, and there's always more to discover. Thank you for joining me on this cinematic adventure, And until next time, keep watching, keep exploring, and keep enjoying the magic of movies.